Assalamu alaikum, peace be upon you, and welcome to another episode of Ramadan Reflections right here on TTT. I'm your host, Charlene Lewis, and of course, I thank you once again for staying in my company and joining me for this yet another wonderful episode. The blessed month of Ramadan. It is indeed one where we as Muslims observe fasting from the break of dawn to sunset. But the issue is younger persons in society, the young Muslims. There is sometimes a challenge with the young Muslims who may not be so inclined to the deen or inclined to the month of Ramadan to benefit from its mercy, to benefit from all its rewards. But we will be discussing that today. That's right, I will be joined by a 20-year-old religious education teacher by the name of Sufyan Sidat. Of course, he is also a teacher at the Al Ihsan Primary School and is quite versed in Quran and Arabic, not to mention the problems the Muslim youth face. So we're talking about youth and fasting and the challenges that can arise during the month of Ramadan for youngsters within our ummah, within our community. And Sufyan, I must say assalamu alaikum and thank you so much for accepting my invitation to be part of this discussion today.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so let's just talk a bit about what do you think the challenges are as it relates to young Muslims during this blessed month of Ramadan?
So there's definitely a challenge when it comes to young Muslims and youth with the month of Ramadan and with Islam on the whole actually, because as obviously we live in a non-Muslim country, a secular-based country, so we're not surrounded by Islam all the time. And growing up, we have to go to schools, we have friends and people that we need to interact with who aren't Muslims. So there is definitely a challenge in that sense. And one of the biggest things right now is being influenced online, where we look at shows and movies and so on. And we think that, maybe we don't fit in, as Muslims, we don't fit in this country with the community. However, that's not true. As Muslims, we have a community, we have a brotherhood, we have a jamaat, a mosque that we can attend to and be part of. And the biggest challenge for, I think, youths would be finding that community and finding your space as a Muslim, a friend group to practice Islam with and to be motivated all the time.
Do you think a lot of young Muslims are burdened by the need to feel validated or get validation from online, like TikTok, Instagram, that online community, engage in digital trends, that kind of thing?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the social life is, in some people's minds, the real life, For some people, social is reality. However, it's far from reality, and it's so easy to appear perfect on social media and to live glamorous lives. However, in people's actual lives, that's not the case. And us Muslims growing up, even here in Trinidad, we kind of look at social media and videos and so on, and we tend to desire these types of things in our little country here. However, we have to stick true to ourselves, and we have to understand who we are. We are Muslims and we have been sent on this earth with a purpose, and we can't be distracted by these fantasies. And that's not to say that we can't live an enjoyable life, we can't be happy as Muslims, we definitely can. We just need to know who our role models are and who we should try to be as a Muslim.
So as a youth yourself and teaching religious education, obviously you're engaging with a lot of young persons. How is that experience for you based on interacting with them?
So me personally, I've noticed that the interaction I have with youth and even kids is absolutely amazing. It's very eye-opening because in Islam there's a concept called the fitrah, which is the natural disposition of a person, and every child is born with this fitrah and this inclination towards the truth, towards Islam. And it's very amazing to see young people so enthusiastic about their deen and their religion. In fact, the youngsters are actually more motivated and more interested in Islam than sometimes the adults. And I just find that to be one of the coolest things as an educator, to get a child who is so deeply interested in Islam. It really just makes every single part of it worth it.
That's right, and I'm happy to hear that. And I think it has to do with energy in terms of, with the youth, they're much more energetic and they have less burdens and stresses of daily life and adulting, so to speak. So I'm really pleased to hear that, at least from your perspective, there's a lot of interest there. Let's talk about distractions during the blessed month of Ramadan for young persons. What would you advise young persons to do in terms of weaning off maybe too much scrolling on TikTok, that kind of thing?
So the Prophet ﷺ said that there are two favors which people tend to neglect the most. It's health and free time. And in Ramadan, most people, they would have free time generally. And it's so easy to get distracted in this free time. It's so easy to just pick up your phone and play a game, watch a video, scroll, as they call it nowadays, doom scrolling, which just takes up so much time. And in the month of Ramadan, we really want to try to avoid these kinds of things. Time wasting is not something that we should be engaged in during the month of Ramadan, especially because it's a month that's full of so much blessings, so much barakah, so much can be done in Ramadan that spending time behind the phones and the screens, it really takes away from that. And Ramadan, it's, for me personally, much more than a month. It's an entire vibe. It's a month where you get to prove to yourself what you are capable of. And if you can stay away from food and drinks, then you can more than stay away from the other things which you don't need.
That is right. And I like the fact that you stress it's more than just a month, it's a vibe. So, from where you sit, what type of vibe would you create or suggest that, a young Muslim get involved in?
So I think the month of Ramadan is more than anything a month, like I said, to prove yourself, to prove that you can do it no matter what. And you can use this as motivation to improve your life even after Ramadan. For example, as Muslims, we have to wake up for the suhoor early in the morning. And many people for the year, they will try to get up early, they will try to have productive routines, and many a times they are not able to. However, in Ramadan, we prove to ourselves that we are capable of this. Therefore, in Ramadan, I always try to be the best version of myself, and I always encourage others to be the best versions of themselves, so that when Ramadan finishes, you can continue with this sort of spiritual highness for the rest of the year until the next Ramadan, and really just improve your life and use Ramadan as a training ground to live a better life.
Let's talk about the youth who may not necessarily come from, Islamic homes or been involved in Islamic communities and had that, upbringing, so to speak. But they have an interest in Islam, maybe they just reverted to Islam. How are you going to approach, what is your approach in working with them during this blessed month to ensure that they are not intimidated by, Arabic and, completing the entire Quran, but taking it in baby steps where they can still, get involved?
So, وَمَا عَلَيْكُمْ فِي الدِّينِ حَرَجٌ, that there is no hardship and there is no difficulty in deen. So everybody will learn at their own pace and they'll move at their own pace. And the best piece of advice that I can give to youngsters, to people who just reverted back to Islam, people who haven't been grown up in an Islamic home, is to associate yourself with people that will encourage you. Find a mosque, find a growing community that you can just immerse yourself in, because that is what will really make or break you. Ramadan and many things in life become difficult if you approach it by yourself. However, to have friends, to have a community that you can surround yourself with to encourage you, it helps a lot.
That's right. So, like I said, just having these conversations, one of the key takeaways would definitely be for youngsters to refrain from doom scrolling and, just proving to themselves that they can lock in, as they say, and do the needful. They may not be able to achieve everything, but they can still prove to themselves that, hey, at least I've been able to do X, Y, Z, as opposed to nothing at all. And, just really being mindful of their company. And that could be a challenge at times, especially if they have certain attachments to certain people. But it's a way that they can prove to themselves that they are in a better place than before. So, these conversations and more we will be having. We are going to take a break, and when we return, more about the youth and Ramadan. You're viewing Ramadan Reflections right here on TTT. And before the break, we were having a conversation with respect to the youth and the month of Ramadan. Some of the trials they go through and the distractions. We would have touched on the doom scrolling. Yes, they like to do a lot of doom scrolling on the various social media apps. And of course, being mindful of their company. But what are some of the red flags youth can look forward to, not look forward to, but can look at in determining who is bad company, who's good company?
So good company and bad company really makes a person. I mean, you can tell so much about a person just based on who he associates himself with, who he, as we say, limes with. And a good friend, first of all, is a friend that you feel ashamed to sin around. It's a friend that will encourage you, a friend that will always want the best for you. Bad company and a bad friend is someone who you feel okay sinning around because you know that they won't say anything. They don't really have the best interest for you, so they wouldn't even mind if you commit a sin. So to have friends and to feel ashamed to sin around your friends is definitely one of the signs that you have good friends. And friends who encourage you to do bad, obviously. Friends who are okay with you doing sins, okay with you not progressing in life is some major red flags to have. And you should definitely not be surrounding yourself with people like that.
That's right. And what are some of the social media habits that the youth can reject during this blessed month of Ramadan?
So definitely one of the biggest enemies of time is doom scrolling. And one of the more hidden aspects of doom scrolling that many people tend to forget about is while scrolling, you actually sometimes listen to music unintentionally. So sometimes you might be scrolling to a video and there'll be music in the background, there'll be music in the video, and you're so focused on the content that's there, you subconsciously start listening to the music. And sometimes you'll even start tapping your fingers, shaking your feet towards the rhythm of the music. And all of these things take away from your spirituality, especially in the month of Ramadan. And it's something that we need to be aware of, something that we have to keep at the back of our minds. And if I was to just say, stay away from social media, no one would listen. So what I can say is try to reduce it, keep it to a minimum. Even if it's really, really difficult for you, at least while you're fasting, you're not on your phone too much, you're not doom scrolling while you are fasting. Even if you have to use it afterwards, then fine, maybe you have some work to do on your phones because it is beneficial. However, the harms, especially while fasting, greatly outweigh the benefit that you will get.
All right, so of course that could also involve refreshing your algorithm, something one can do, all now. It's not too late. We're still in the month of Ramadan. So let's speak about some of the false narratives that are propagated online and that could, affect the youth and influence them, because some of them may not be as firm in their deen as the adults, and it's very easy for them to get, pulled into that.
Yeah, definitely. We have so much false information being spread online recently with AI. There are so many videos which we can't even tell if they're real or not. And it's so amazing that our Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he actually spoke about these things all the way back then. The Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said that it's sufficient to call a person a liar that he narrates everything he hears. And if we apply it nowadays, it comes like a person who just shares things without even verifying. And it's so easy on Instagram and TikTok, YouTube and so on, just to share stuff with the click of a button when we haven't even verified ourselves. So that's one aspect. The other aspect is things that we view. We often see false narratives of people on social media. People, they appear as though their lives are so amazing. However, off camera, it's a different story. And it's so easy to get caught up, as we say, chasing the likes, chasing the comments and the stories, that even we ourselves, we get kind of sucked into this social life and this online presence that we forget to focus on our real life and what's actually in front of us. So false information, false narratives is a big issue with social media, and I highly encourage people to sometimes, look up from your phone. Look and see what's in front of you, what you can do to better yourself in real life.
Yeah, and as I say, touch grass as well, touch grass, yeah, of course, go outside. So final thing I want to find out from you, what is your ultimate advice to the youth population, the youth Muslim population during this month of Ramadan? Because we don't want them to just, refrain from doing a bunch of things that will take away from their spiritual development during this blessed month and return to it after. but it should be sustained.
My biggest advice that I can give to the youth is really just take out some time this month to really fall in love with Islam. You know, the Sunnah, the Quran, it's like a golden rule of life, you know. If you follow it and you stick to it, there's absolutely no way you won't succeed. And the reality is, you know, in life we can do whatever we want, and sometimes things don't go our way. We can go to college, we can go to university, but that doesn't mean we'll get a good job. We can date for years before we get married, but that doesn't mean you'll get a good spouse. However, if we follow the Quran, we follow the Sunnah, there's absolutely no doubt that we will end up successful in life. Likewise, when it comes to Ramadan, really immerse yourself and give it an honest chance. And enter it with an open mind, enter into it wholeheartedly. Really just try to live in the best way that you can as a Muslim. Practice upon all parts of Ramadan, get some new friends, get some people that will encourage you. Really, really try your best, and you'll see, even after Ramadan, your lives would improve so much more.
That's right, indeed, very beneficial advice from a very youthful religious education teacher, Sufyan Sidat, on this episode of Ramadan Reflections to the young Muslim population, and by extension the non-Muslims as well, you know, to refrain from the doom scrolling and getting easily distracted with social media, and of course, you know, hanging out with persons who are not good for you, really bad company. So it was indeed a pleasure for you to accept this invitation for Ramadan Reflections and for us to have this discourse. Jazakallah khair. And of course, I want to say to you, thanks so much indeed.